The announcement came right after Mom brought out her famous apple pie, as if my brother Marcus had been waiting for the perfect moment to deliver what he clearly thought would be devastating news. "I have something important to tell everyone," Marcus said, standing up at the head of our family's dining table, his chest puffed out with self-importance. "Jennifer and I have been discussing the future of Hammond Construction, and we've decided it's time to sell." My sister-in-law Jennifer beamed beside him, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light from Mom's crystal chandelier. Dad nodded approvingly from his seat, while Mom clasped her hands together with excitement. "The Meridian Group made us an offer we couldn't refuse," Marcus continued, clearly enjoying the attention. $12 million for the entire company. A chorus of congratulations erupted around the table. My sister Emma practically squealed with delight, already calculating her share. My nephew and niece, home from college, started talking about new cars and study abroad programs. Then Marcus looked directly at me, his smile turning cruel. "Of course, since Sophia never contributed anything meaningful to the business, she won't be getting a share of the proceeds." "That seems fair," Dad said with a dismissive wave toward my end of the table. "Sophia made her choices when she decided to pursue that art degree instead of joining the family business." "We're selling the family business. You get nothing," Marcus repeated, clearly savoring each word. Everyone nodded in agreement, their faces showing a mixture of excitement about their windfall and satisfaction that I was being excluded. Emma even had the audacity to pat my hand sympathetically as if I were a charity case. I just smiled and pulled out my phone. "Actually," I said calmly, scrolling to my email, "I bought it 3 months ago." The room went dead silent. Marcus's fork, loaded with apple pie, froze halfway to his mouth. "What did you just say?" Dad demanded. I turned my phone screen toward the table, showing the email confirmation from my lawyers. "I said I bought Hammond Construction 3 months ago. Through my holding company, Meridian Acquisitions LLC. Their forks dropped when they realized what I was telling them. Marcus's face went from smug satisfaction to pale confusion in the span of 3 seconds. "That's impossible. The Meridian Group is buying us. We're meeting with them next week to finalize the deal." "Marcus," I said gently, "I am the Meridian Group." The silence stretched so long I could hear the grandfather clock ticking in the hallway. Finally, Jennifer found her voice. But you're an artist. You paint pictures for tourists. You live in that tiny studio apartment above the coffee shop." "I do paint," I agreed. "It's one of my hobbies. As for where I live, I prefer to keep my personal and professional lives separate." Dad leaned forward, his face red with either anger or confusion. "Sophia, what exactly are you claiming here?" I pulled up another document on my phone, the official transfer of ownership papers. "I'm not claiming anything, Dad. I'm stating a fact. As of September 15th, I own 100% of Hammond Construction, along with all its assets, contracts and subsidiaries. But we never agreed to sell to you." Marcus sputtered. "You never asked who you were selling to. You just saw the offer amount and assumed it was from some big corporation." I scrolled through my messages. "Actually, let me read you the email thread. This is from your business manager, Tom Bradley, on September 10th. Marcus, we've received a serious offer from Meridian Acquisitions. They're offering $12 million cash, no financing contingencies, 30-day close. I strongly recommend we accept." I looked up at Marcus's increasingly pale face. "And your response was, if the money's real, I don't care who's buying. Just get it done." Mom set down her coffee cup with shaking hands. "Sophia, I don't understand. Where would you get $12 million? "From my other businesses, Mom. The ones you've never asked about because you assumed I was failing." Emma laughed nervously. "What other businesses? You sell paintings at the farmer's market." "I do sell paintings at the farmer's market," I confirmed. "Under the name S. Hammond. But I also own Meridian Acquisitions, which has a portfolio worth approximately $200 million. We specialize in acquiring underperforming construction and development companies, modernizing their operations and increasing their profitability." The room was so quiet I could hear my nephew's phone buzzing with notifications from across the table. "That's impossible," Jennifer said again, but her voice lacked conviction. "Is it?" I pulled up my company's website on my phone and handed it to her. Meridian Acquisitions LLC. Founded 5 years ago. Headquarters in downtown Portland. CEO and founder Sophia Hammond. Jennifer's eyes widened as she scrolled through the website. This shows you own 15 companies. 16 now, I corrected. Hammond Construction makes 16. Marcus grabbed the phone from his wife's hands, staring at the screen in disbelief. But we would have known. Someone would have told us. Told you what? That the daughter you dismissed as a failure had built a business empire? Why would anyone tell you that when you never asked? Dad stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor. This is ridiculous. You can't just buy our family business without telling us. Actually, I can. It's called a legal business transaction. You put the company up for sale, I made an offer, you accepted. Everything was handled through lawyers and business managers. The fact that you never bothered to research who was buying your company is your oversight, not my deception. But why? Mom asked, tears starting to form in her eyes. Why would you do this to us? I looked around the table at my family, really looked at them, for the first time in years. Do this to you? Mom, I saved your business. Do you have any idea what Hammond Construction's actual financial situation was before I bought it? Marcus crossed his arms defensively. We were doing fine. You were 3 months away from bankruptcy. I pulled out a folder I'd brought with me, knowing this conversation would eventually happen. 2 years of declining revenue, $800,000 in unpaid vendor bills, 3 major contracts in default, and a lawsuit from the city over safety violations on the Morrison Bridge project. I spread the financial documents across the table like a poker player revealing a winning hand. The only reason the Meridian Group, my company, was willing to offer $12 million was because I knew I could turn it around. Any other buyer would have offered maybe $3 million, and that's if they were feeling generous. Jennifer picked up one of the financial statements, her face growing paler as she read. Marcus, you told me the business was thriving. It was. Marcus insisted. We had some temporary cash flow issues, but nothing serious. Marcus, I said quietly, you hadn't paid your employees in 6 weeks. I know because they were calling my personal number, asking if I could help them get in touch with someone who could approve their paychecks. Dad sank back into his chair. How did you know about any of this? Because Tom Bradley has been sending me the company's financial reports for 2 years. He was worried about the direction things were heading and thought maybe I could help, given my background in business acquisitions. Tom was sharing confidential information with you? Marcus's voice cracked with indignation. Tom was trying to save the company Dad built from the ground up. The company that bears our family name. The company you were running into the ground. The grandfather clock chimed 8 times, marking the passage of another hour in what had become the longest Christmas dinner in family history. So what happens now? Emma asked in a small voice. Do we all lose our jobs? Emma, you haven't worked for Hammond Construction in 5 years. You're a yoga instructor. I meant Marcus and Dad. I looked at my brother who was staring at his hands. That depends on Marcus. I bought the company because I believe it can be successful again. But it needs competent leadership. I am competent. Marcus snapped. Are you? Because the financial records show a different story. Revenue down 40% over 2 years. Customer satisfaction scores at an all-time low. 3 of your biggest clients have already indicated they won't renew their contracts. I pulled out another document. This is from Wilson Development, your biggest client. They're canceling their $2.8 million project because of repeated delays and quality issues. The email specifically mentions leadership problems and lack of professional accountability. Marcus's face went through several shades of red before settling on a mottled purple. You don't understand the construction business. It's not like whatever it is you do. What I do, Marcus, is fix failing companies. And Hammond Construction is definitely failing. Dad finally spoke up. What are your terms? Pie terms. For keeping the company running. For letting Marcus keep his job. I had been waiting for this question for 3 months. Here's what's going to happen. Hammond Construction is going to undergo a complete operational restructuring. New management systems, updated safety protocols, modern equipment and proper financial controls. And Marcus? Jennifer asked. Marcus can stay but not as CEO. He'll be project supervisor for residential builds, with a direct supervisor monitoring his work. If he proves he can handle that responsibility, we can discuss advancement opportunities in 2 years. That's a demotion. Marcus shouted. That's reality. You're not qualified to run a $12 million company, Marcus. The evidence is overwhelming. Jennifer grabbed Marcus's arm. But we were counting on the sale money. We put a deposit down on a house in Bend. We have plans. Those plans were based on selling a company that was worth $12 million, I pointed out. A company that was actually worth maybe $3 million due to its debt and liabilities. I paid $12 million because I knew I could fix it and because it's our family legacy. So we get nothing? Emma asked. You get jobs if you want them. Real jobs with real responsibilities. Emma, you could run our new customer relations department. Dad, you could head up our quality control division. Jennifer, we need someone to manage our new digital marketing initiatives. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the snow falling in Mom's backyard. Here's what I'm offering. The $12 million that Marcus thought he was getting from selling the company? That money is going back into the business. New equipment, facility upgrades, technology improvements, employee bonuses and expansion capital. But our house in Bend, Jennifer whispered. We'll have to wait until you earn it through actual work contribution. Marcus stood up so quickly his chair fell backward. This is insane. You can't just take over our lives like this. I'm not taking over your lives, Marcus. I'm offering to save them. The alternative is that Hammond Construction goes bankrupt in 3 months. Dad loses everything he spent 40 years building, and all of you are unemployed in a terrible job market. We could have sold to someone else, he insisted. No, Marcus, you couldn't have. I spent 6 months researching potential buyers before making my offer. 3 companies looked at Hammond Construction. 2 of them walked away after seeing the financial records. The third offered $2.1 million, contingent on major staff reductions and facility closures. I turned back to face my family. I paid $12 million because I love this family even when you don't see my value. I paid $12 million because Dad deserves to see his life's work continue. And I paid $12 million because I knew I could turn Hammond Construction into something worth being proud of again. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. Finally, Dad spoke. Sophia, why didn't you tell us about your success? When would I have told you, Dad? At last year's Christmas dinner when Marcus spent an hour explaining why business degrees are worthless? Or at Emma's birthday party when you told everyone I was still trying to find myself, at 32 years old? We never meant to dismiss you, Mom said quietly. Maybe not intentionally. But you made assumptions about my life based on what you could see, rather than asking what you couldn't see. I pulled out my business card and set it on the table. I own 16 companies across 4 states. I employ over 800 people. Last year, my businesses generated $47 million in revenue. And yes, I also paint watercolors at the farmer's market on Saturday mornings, because I enjoy it. Jennifer picked up my business card, examining it like it might be fake. This says you're the CEO of Meridian Acquisitions. That's correct. But your apartment above the coffee shop is one of 3 properties I own in the city. I also have a house in the hills and a condo in Seattle. I live above the coffee shop because I like being part of the community and because it keeps me grounded. Marcus sat back down heavily. So what you're telling us is that we've been, what? Patronizing you? For years. Yes, Marcus. That's exactly what I'm telling you. And now you own our family business. Yes. And we work for you. If you choose to. The jobs I mentioned are real offers with competitive salaries and benefits. But they require actual work and accountability. Emma raised her hand tentatively. What about our shares of the sale money? We were all supposed to get something when the business sold. The business did sell. To me. And instead of taking the money and running, I'm reinvesting it to make Hammond Construction stronger. If you work for the company and help make it successful, you'll benefit through profit sharing, bonuses, and eventually stock options. So we have to earn what we thought we were getting for free, Dad summarized. Dad, you never got anything for free. You built Hammond Construction from nothing. You earned every dollar it's worth. But Marcus was about to sell your life's work to the lowest bidder and walk away with cash while your employees lost their jobs and your reputation got destroyed. I sat back down at the table. I'm offering all of you the chance to be part of something bigger. To help me turn Hammond Construction into the kind of company you can actually be proud to have your name on. And if we say no? Marcus asked. Then you say no. I'll hire other people to run the company and you can figure out your own career paths. But the offer stands for 30 days. Mom reached across the table and took my hand. Sophia, I'm sorry. We should have asked more questions about your life. We should have been more supportive. We should have trusted you, Dad added. And we should have recognized that just because you chose a different path doesn't mean you weren't successful. Marcus looked at Jennifer, who nodded encouragingly. Sophia, if I take the job you're offering, will you teach me how to actually run a construction company properly? For the first time all evening I smiled genuinely. Marcus, I thought you'd never ask. 3 months later, I stood in the newly renovated offices of Hammond Construction, watching Marcus lead a client meeting with confidence I'd never seen from him before. He'd thrown himself into learning modern project management techniques, and his natural charisma was finally being channeled into productive leadership. Emma had surprised everyone by turning out to be a natural at customer relations, her yoga instructor's people skills translating perfectly to client management. Dad was enjoying his quality control role, finally getting to focus on craftsmanship rather than paperwork. Even Jennifer had found her niche, running our social media presence and generating more leads than we'd seen in years. The company that had been hemorrhaging money 6 months ago was now profitable, growing, and had a waiting list of clients. Sophia, Marcus called out as the clients left, can you look at these projections for the Riverside Development Project? I walked over to his desk, genuinely impressed by the thoroughness of his planning. This looks great, Marcus. You've really thought through the logistics. I learned from the best, he said with a grin. Even if it took me 32 years to realize who that was. As I drove home that evening past the coffee shop where I still kept my small apartment, I reflected on how dramatically things had changed. My family finally knew who I really was. Hammond Construction was thriving, and for the first time in years I was looking forward to next Christmas dinner. Sometimes the best gift you can give your family isn't what they want. It's what they need, even when they don't realize they need it.